nanohub.org.
Online simulation, and more for nanotechnology.
All right, thanks everybody. Welcome to the Micro Nanotechnology Education Center seminar series. This is going to be the last seminar for the year, and we got an awesome seminar today. Rick Vaughn from Rio Salado Community College and Nancy Luwaji from Normandale Community College. They are going to give a presentation on distance education for micro and nanotechnology. So thanks, Rick and Nancy, and looking forward to your seminar.
Thanks, Jared, for having us. And so we hope that we can share with you some of the vision that we have for the Micro Nanotechnology Education Center in collecting some of the distance education assets that we have and tagging them and creating this service in order to strengthen all of our programs and to sustain future programs. I wanted to start today with just the end in mind. I think it's Covey that says start with the end in mind. So here's a video that reminds me of just about every Zoom meeting that I'm ever in.
Well, goodbye. 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 Enjoy yourself. Bye. Goodbye. 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 Bye. Well, goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
All right, so we heard from Kate Alcott a couple of weeks ago, and I thought that she did a really nice job of giving this overview and using the who, what, why, where. Why is this important to us? Who's involved? When is it going to occur? Where is it going to occur? So we thought that we'd use that same sort of organizational structure. So let me first by introducing the team as we know it so far. I'm Rick Vaughn. I'm at Rio Salado College. We'll mention a little bit more about that. We have Nancy Luwaji here. Andy Bell at Ivy Tech has also volunteered to be part of this distance learning focus group. Tanya Fultons, Marco Corelli, Paul Weber, and your name really needs to go here. So at the end, there'll be the call to action. We'd love for you to join us. We have a lot of work to do, and we're looking forward to the work that's ahead. Why? We've also drafted a little bit of a mission statement for this working group. This, at first we were calling it a focus group. Now it's a working group, distance education working group. We want to foster collaboration in micro and nanotechnologies through high quality, authentic learning opportunities that are accessible to students in multiple locations. And I really like this word accessible here. We're looking at accessible for meeting the students where they're at, which is kind of in Rio Salado's core mission, that we can serve future technicians regardless of where they live or what their geographic or demographic location is. In particular, we're interested in serving our Native American populations and our underserved students. I wanted to share also this particular video. This is from Intel, and it reminds me of the why, not only what's the purpose of the distance education working group, but why is it that we do the work that we do? And this is a day in the life of Otis. So Otis is a manufacturing technician with Intel, and it's a great reason and reminder of the training that we do and the kind of work and satisfying work that occurs. Watch for some of the background images, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but it really focuses on the quality of life and the kinds of work environments that one can have with this sort of training opportunity.
My name is Otis Chandler. I'm a manufacturing technician. I've been with Intel for 12 plus years. I work at the Ocotillo site on the Arizona campus. Originally, I'm from Tennessee. Once we came out here, one of the things I like best about it is that 95% of the time, I'm pretty much guaranteed I'm going to see the sun. so no lack of vitamin D. I enjoy getting out on the trails. I enjoy running. I enjoy trail running. I enjoy the outdoors. And Arizona provides that type of environment. I normally get to work around 5:30. I like to get here about 30 minutes early. My shift starts at 6 o'clock. Even though I'm bald-headed, I have to put on the hairnet. Since I have a facial hair, I have to put on a beard cover. Once you get in, you got to cover your shoes. You got to make sure you put on what they call their booties. Then that's when I put on my bunny suit. I enjoy the camaraderie that we have, some of the nicest guys that I work around. I enjoy working with my engineers, some of the most intelligent guys and gals that we have that are around within the industry. I work 4 days on, 3 days off, and then 3 days on, 4 days off. So with a 2-week span, I'm actually off 7 days. My pre-Intel years life, I work 7 days a week. The compressed work week allows me to go out and do things that I really enjoy to do, such as being outdoors, doing activities with my family, things that I'm passionate about. When I was a kid, I enjoyed getting that first volcano where me and my dad was working together and we seen the chemical reaction. I do that on a grander scale. Within my job, I work with a link tool, a scanner, and a track together, and we make those chemical reactions happen on a daily basis. We take 4 hours and we take a quick break, and then we work another 4 hours and take a quick break or whatever. We have our breaks within there. One of the things that the rec room, it provides for me to get off the floor, not think about what's going on the floor, to where I can get my mind away. I can get away for an hour. After I'm done with that, I'm able to get back into the routine and I feel refreshed. So how we wrap up at the end of the day is we capture anything that's happened throughout the area. Once we capture that in an online document, we're ready for the oncoming shift. Once the guys come in from the oncoming shift, we share that information with them, whatever's going on within the area. If someone was given the opportunity to work at Intel, I would tell them to go for it. It's an awesome opportunity. It's an awesome job. It's one to where you have a plethora of career development opportunities. They provide for their people. It's a great place to work. Do it.
So I'm going to just pause for just a minute, and I'll tell you what I like about that video, and I'd really like to hear from you. And maybe you could unmute yourself or type in the chat that what is it that you really appreciate about a video like this. And what I like is, again, that you see Otis in the outdoors, enjoying his family life, playing Wii bowling, I think it was, climbing up mountains. But you also see him in the professional environment. He seems very happy with his job. He is high-fiving his teammates. He's in this, he goes to the rec room at lunch and is talking about the work shift. So it makes this job as a manufacturing technician very real. It's a diverse student, and it's the kind of a job that they could lead into. Those are my observations. What do you think?
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Greg Kepner, and I, having spent time in a clean room years ago, it reminded me of my time in the clean room, and the different shifts. That really works out nice for them. 7 days off in a 2-week, period, and it's pretty obvious he was very committed to the work that he does. And, I had a chance to buy Intel stock back in the 80s and I didn't have any money at the time, so I didn't, but I wish I had. That's all.
Thanks, Greg. I agree. I mean, I think that it's what I really love to see is if we as the MNT Education Center could do some little bits like this. What's it really look like to work at one of our industry partners? What does it really look like to work in the optics or photonics labs to manufacture infrared sensors these days? We can strip the individual company off of that, but I think that would be a great service, not only for distance education, but for recruiting into our programs. And that's the biggest thing that I think we face at Rio Salado anyway, is that we just have students that are saying, this doesn't mean anything to me. And we spend a lot of time helping them to understand what those career pathways.
Hey, Rick, this is Peter. I've really liked the way that they were focusing on family, because these are living wage family jobs. So it's not just that you're going to work, but that you're providing for the family. And the video, I thought, really highlighted that.
Yeah. Do you think that we could do something like this in the MNT-EC?
You mean produce a video like it? What do you mean?
Yeah, produce something like this.
Possibly. We also are producing a podcast that's like an audio version of this. So if you know anyone, Rick, send them my way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'll share you some examples coming up here in a minute. Let's
Rick.
go on to,
This is Mel.
Hi, Mel.
I really appreciated the diversity that it showed, and the I guess the camaraderie that can be found in this type of environment. But I think the diversity was really great. Not just the diversity of work life and balance with real life and their home life, but choosing some people of color was really, really good.
Okay. Thank you. So where? Now I'll go back to this, why, what, where. We'll look at some more examples of this appealing to students in regardless of their location, regardless of their demographics, and for recruiting diverse students into our programs as well. Rio Salado, where I'm from, was founded in '78 to challenge the limits of tradition. That's just so we have been called throughout the years since then the college without walls, college within everyone's reach. We have a core value of meeting the student where they're at. We have close to 50,000 students. We're the largest of the 10 Maricopa community colleges, although Mesa sometimes argues with us about that. And Maricopa as a system is one of the largest community college districts in the entire country. Our 50,000 student headcount population is divided into different tracks. We have incarcerated students, we have dual enrollment students, we have online students, as well as partnerships. We have partnerships with business and industry where people on the job can actually take 4 credit classes while they're on the job. We're physically located in Tempe, Arizona. And we're very close to ASU and directly across the street from our newest partner, Medtronic. So what? So what our intentions is as the distance learning working group is to support the creation of new programs and to help existing programs scale. As we know, as a community, we've seen programs in micro and nanotechnologies that have come and gone. They've, most of us are facing enrollment challenges. And so what we want to do as part of the center is to utilize our distance learning assets in order to strengthen the existing programs and support creation of new programs so that they are viable and sustainable. As part of that, we want to develop this single curated online repository. There's distance education materials all over the place, and there are also traditional materials that could be turned into distance education materials. And one of the services we believe that we can assist the community with is to help them navigate through these already existing materials. I like to call it a concierge service. So someone could come to us with a problem. I really need, and with COVID, we all, most of us had these kinds of problems. I had a problem. I said, we have a vacuum technology lab that's a physical in-person lab over at ASU and was highly dependent upon a very great instructor. And yet when COVID happened, we had to say, what now is going to be this alternative experience that's going to be authentic and that's going to keep the student on track, so that they are not missing out and have to wait a year before they can just return to that physical experience. So I reached out to Nancy. and she does some vacuum systems and telepresence. Now, we haven't actually got our students through any of that, but I think that that's the kind of service that our center could provide, is allowing and matching up with the existing resources that are out there, maybe having a tagging system of some kind where we could search by certain things. Here's the applicability of it, and connecting the requester with the subject matter experts that can help them to understand those resources that we have as a community. And finally, to develop new hybrid and alternative options for the existing experiences that we have. Nancy, do you want to talk about some of the goals from your slide here?
Sure, Rick, thank you. So this was a summary of some of the ideas that were in the MNT-EC proposal to identify the types of distance learning programs that are out there currently, along with their credentialing opportunities, and then looking at the processes and developing processes so that we can enroll more participants into these distance learning programs, figuring out promotional strategies, and then moving to develop networks so that we can deliver the kind of subspecialization content that is existing across this network.
How are we going to go about doing this? I think I talked mostly about this, but what I put on this particular slide is the alignment between some of these activities that our working group is going to be working on and the overall activities of the MNT-EC grant objectives. So one of the grant objectives, the center objectives, is to strengthen these current programs and foster creation of new programs. And we believe we can contribute to that by promoting the resources that exist, identifying these industry locations, and developing these partnerships with local schools and inviting new participants. Developing a single curated online repository, and then this is the part we really need help with. And at the end, we'll ask for your assistance in going about this, but we need to inventory all of the current educational assets we have. We need to develop this repository on the website. We need to develop these tags or these buckets, these modalities. This can be used in these kinds of settings and in this level of education and in this type of a class. I think of it like a tagging system, like you can see on Amazon or something along those lines. And then to utilize these in partnerships and now maximize accessibility of these assets. And again, that's access for students that are at a distance, but it's also access for students that might have a wide variety of abilities. We want to make sure that we are looking at the accessibility for visually impaired students or students that have other kinds of disabilities. And we want to make sure that these assets are equally applicable in all of those areas as much as possible. Back on the chat. Okay, video production team, yeah, okay, that sounds great. When? Well, when is now. I mean, we are up and ready to go. We'd like to have a meeting with the people that are interested in contributing to this distance learning team in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Monday, actually, is the date that I'm targeting. And so at the end of this, we'll collect anyone who's interested in being a part of this team. You'll receive a meeting invitation. And in the next 2 weeks, we'll be having our first meeting to start to collect those assets and determine those bucket modalities. So the encouragement here is to join the distance education working group. Now I'd like to transition and start to share what some of those assets look like and give you some of the creative thinking that I think we would need to bring to a field such as this in order to deliver that authentic, high quality experience and yet still at a distance meeting the student where it's at. And I firmly believe that there are some experiences that probably can't have substitutes for them, but just about any experience you can, if you think creatively enough, come up with an accessible and hybrid or online experience that matches the quality. The story I'd like to tell other people in the past is about nursing. And at one point they had a nursing simulation, and it was about giving shots, injections of some kind, using needles for nursing. And so the students that were in this online nursing training program, they could actually practice with their mouse and the injection shot process as many times as they wanted in that online environment without all the other students kind of standing around and watching them. As opposed to when they did it in the in-person setting, you have 6, 8, 10 students standing around. It gets demonstrated once, and then you get your time to try it. And you either are successful or you're not successful, but it adds a lot of stress onto the student, and they also have these they spend more time watching than they actually spend doing, even in those in-person components. I think we've seen this in the clean room experiences too. A lot of the clean room experiences are, we try to get the student the hands-on experience, but a lot of it is standing around watching. And so from the watching perspective, if we were able to do this in a virtualized environment, the student might get the actual practice on the machine, and yet not have to stand around and watch and then finally get their turn and then maybe mess something up. I'm not saying that experience, and even with the nursing experience, is going to replace the requirement. I wouldn't want someone who's only done it on their computer to be giving me an injection unless I somehow have some confidence that they have the skill. So in my mind, there's still the certification piece of any one of these required experiences. But those are the kinds of questions that I think we should ask about any particular asset or any particular lab experience that we're seeking to turn into a distance experience. Are we preserving the authentic nature of what it is we want a technician to know and be able to do as a result of that experience? And if the answer to that is yes, then I think we've been successful. Okay, I'll stop with my personal opinions at this point and share with you some of the other assets. So getting back to Mel's comment, this was, we were actually awarded a $70,000 mini grant, if you will, from the state of Arizona. They're given to the community college here as part of what's called Prop 301, specifically for workforce development. And 1 year, about 3 years ago, we were very fortunate to get a $70,000 allocation. It's actually a little bit more than that. We got a piece of equipment to go with it. But we employed a firm called Lane Tierlever, a local professional marketing firm. And for that $70,000, we got a marketing brief, some talking points, a website, a pop-up banner, some print ads, some Facebook, social media marketing, and so forth. So I'd like to share with you this, this web page and the professional videos that were done with those funds. Up at the top, we have this tagline, Nano knows no limits. The what is nanotechnology, addressing the fact that students weren't always connecting with what careers in this field looked like. So we're trying to help them understand exactly what it is. As you scroll down, there's benefits. These are the talking points that were identified through the marketing campaign. There are job opportunities. Rio has flexible schedules. You can start any Monday. You don't have to wait for a traditional semester start date, and it's affordable and it's innovative. We also are connecting directly with industries, both in icons that are easily recognizable and also just titles of fields. And then at the bottom is the call to action to contact an advisor for enrollment. But the showstoppers here, in my opinion, are these videos that were produced. And I'd like to show actually 2 of them. They're both pretty short. There are 3 in total. This one features Jim Hyder, who may be on the call with us here today. He is one of our adjunct instructors. He's done a lot of course development for us, and it's a good video as well. But I want to start with this one from Jeff. Jeff is 49 years old. He mentions that in the video. He is a non-traditional student. He's not necessarily taking it to immediately get a job. He's actually happy with the job that he has. And yet he's interested in the field and he's looking to enhance his career opportunities for the future. Let's hear from Jeff.
My name's Jeffrey Reed. I'm 49, and to make a career change at this point in life, it can be difficult, but I felt that furthering my education, it would increase my employability. Working full-time, having the flexibility of online courses is a really wonderful thing. Nanotechnology is the basis of the future. I've actually had the fortune to attend labs through certificate program at Rio Salado. And planning definitely on moving through towards the Associate of Applied Science. I think in this program, you're going to have the foundation to build a future. The career opportunities are endless. At 49, I'm a great example that it's never too late to make a career change. For my future, nanotechnology knows no limits.
All right, so that was Jeff. And now we're going to hear from Christina. I do want to tell you that Christina is actually not her real name. And there's a bit of a backstory here that we had a similar female, diverse student, actual student for the program, but she got in a car accident the day that we were filming. And so Diana here stood in as Christina and basically acted the part that we had created for the actual student. So that's my disclaimer. And yet it's still a very high quality video and delivers the message that we had intended.
My name is Christina, and I'm a nanotechnology student at Rio Salado. Nanotechnology is all around us. If you have a cell phone or wear makeup or have waterproof clothing, you're using and wearing nanotechnology. It's the intersection where chemistry, engineering, and technology meet. I've always had a love for science, but I just never thought that there was going to be a program that I could do while working full-time. This program at Rio Salado has really given me a new sense of what I can do with my education. I don't want to keep going from job to job. I really want to start a career. Nanotechnology is always changing. We're always learning new things. The future with nanotechnology is limitless. I'm really excited to see where it takes me. For me, nano knows no limits.
All right, so let me pause again and see if you had any comments about this, especially in kind of reflecting on the similar video, I think, from Intel. How do you think you might be able to use something like this either through the center or at your own college?
Rick, this is Peter. Maybe through recruitment. Some of our community colleges have plenty of jobs, but they don't have plenty of students yet. So maybe we could use this as a recruitment tool.
Yeah, I also got a note in the chat about the cost per credit hour, and so I'll address that. At Rio, first of all, we had a course fee for these, but then because of the support of ASU, which I'll mention in a moment, there really isn't any lab fees or course fees. So it really just is tuition, and our cost per credit hour is around $90 a credit hour. So a 3-credit class, most of our classes are 3 credit, would cost the student around $270. There is an out-of-state tuition rate that's different, however, and so when we start talking about doing it in multiple modalities, that's a challenge that we need to overcome. Yeah, so see, is it John or Demis says, I'd love to link it on an info recruitment prime, and you know, there's a site that we can do this. Yeah. All right, well, let me go to the next asset, and the next asset that I'd like to share with you is actually, I'm going to let Nancy share with you what she does with her telepresence for vacuum technology. Nancy?
Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to describe a little bit about the Telepresence Classroom that we use at Normandale. We have a very focused vacuum technology program that we offer. We've had the program since the 90s. It really appealed to the local workforce. At the time, they had a workforce that needed to be upskilled in understanding how to use vacuum technology and maintain those systems. And after a few years of reasonable enrollment, the program at the school really languished. And then in 2013, we submitted a proposal to NSF that we wanted to try to create a distance learning kind of arrangement in vacuum technology. So the proposal had it teaching classes in a telepresence classroom and then also creating a hands-on experience with a trainer system that we developed and then shipped to distance partners. So we had one project that ran 2014 through 2018, and then we got another award that started in 2017 to basically build out a credential in vacuum technology. So now our credential that we offer is a certificate that consists of four courses. The first one is fully online, and it's a basics foundation of math and chemistry that's really important to understanding vacuum science concepts. And then it's followed by a sequence of the rough vacuum regime and a system that looks like, followed by the high vacuum system and troubleshooting concepts. And then the fourth course is on applications and deposition and a little bit of characterization. So the second, third, and fourth class are run as synchronous offerings in a telepresence classroom. So we meet with a group of individuals who come in person to campus, and then about the same number of people that join us on a video conference connection. So if you attended high tech, or well, I guess it wasn't the high tech, it was the MNT-EC meeting. I presented this same video I'm going to show here, but it kind of demonstrates the experience that we've created in telepresence. There's a piece of the traditional lecture, but then that's also the students get an experience in that same class time to do hands-on work with the system. And so do the students who are at a remote location. So I think the video that I have will kind of demonstrate that for you. So just give me a moment to get that started.
This activity is just to identify the gas flow path that we just talked about. So we're actually coming down then through this way.
Now you notice that this is a swage lock motor turn valve, and you notice that it's shaped like in an arrow. This is the direction the gas is going to flow. And all of these are like that. If this is open, that's got to be closed.
It must be pretty close now.
If this is closed, you can open.
That's because you're using this rubber.
So that gives you a little bit of a sense of what our classes are like. You could see for a person that attends in person, there's a couple of screens that they can see where the distance learners are, and they also get to see the content. The distance learners get to see what the instructor shows them. But the nice thing about the camera system is that it allows for some really nice close-up shots, so you can really look at some of the components that are used in vacuum systems up close and get some good imaging. So we've been very we've been very happy with this development. We're up to, I think we have 13 going, we're going to have a few graduates this semester. So in this second grant, we've graduated 13, and there'll probably be up to 15 after this semester of distance students located in California, Utah, Texas. Any questions about the Telepresence Classroom that I could answer? Okay, I'll give it back to Rick. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Another asset that we have at Rio Salado is the virtual clean room. And I'd like to share that with you here as well. I sent out on the resource, if you got this in advance, the list of the resources. If not, you'll get it afterwards. Have the direct links to these sites. There is a flat version, which is the first link, and there's a 3D Google Glasses virtual version, which is the second link. These were developed through the Research Experiences for Teachers arm of the NNCI grant that they had at Arizona State University. So one of our collaborators, teachers, Jessica Hauer, chose to work with the Rio Salado Nano Program and the ASU NanoFab Center, and had this idea of bringing in the virtual field trips, which had existed at ASU in some other areas. There's one for the Grand Canyon, there's one for a bioarchaeology lab, and some really well-developed classrooms that are exploring a wide variety of these different sorts of environments. So she had the idea to do this as a virtual clean room, and the approximate cost was about $5,000. For the $5,000, there was a film crew that came in, and they set up a 3D camera at certain different places. You'll be able to tell where those places are. The camera pans around and shoots the film at these set locations. Then they took that film back and did the digital editing to sew those pieces together and then produce this virtualized clean room. You also can embed different icons, as I'll demonstrate, for videos or labs or pop-out pictures of items that you really want to call attention to. So I will link to the virtual clean room. This is one that I think is not terribly accessible at this point. I think that there's a lot of room for improvement. So what you see in this opening shot now here is the gowning room. You're looking at the entry door. You're seeing a person who's either putting on or taking off their gown. And as you scroll around, I'm using the mouse to actually just click and drag. I can do this in a full 360 degrees in every direction. You see the gowns hanging rather sloppily there. You see another person who's putting on their gloves. You see the bench sticking out into the hallway, the blue tacky mat. You see the different colored trash cans, and you see this separate two-door system, the one you came in and then the one that actually then goes into the clean room. We also have embedded over here one of those videos. I'm not going to do it here today, but if you clicked on this, you'd have a pop-out video which describes the gowning process for the students in this clean room. And so now I can go into the next section, which is the clean room itself. Once you get into the clean room, you can see the door that you came through. You can go back into the changing room, the phones, again, the trash cans inside the system now, fire alarm system. Over here, we have a safety shower and eye wash station, your wet bench with your acid equipment. We use this virtual clean room as an option for the distance education students who are not able to come to the NanoFab for their traditional first time safety and orientation tour. And so there is a lab experience that goes with this where we ask the students certain questions. Where is how many safety showers are there? How many exits are there from the room? Why is the back part of the clean room colored yellow? Where's the calcium gluconate? So there's a lab report that goes with doing this. And although it's not quite the same as putting on the gowning system, I believe that it's about as good as we can get as an alternative setting for students to still do this tour of a working nanofab center. You see actual people in the lab. It gives them a good sense, like those videos, of what it's like to be in that environment, even if they're not physically there. As you see on here, I'll just mention a couple of other things. We can also talk about the bay structure. Here we have the chemical vapor deposition bay on the right. And if I scroll back over to the left, you get the metal deposition bay. And then you can go deeper into the hallway in order to see some additional bays. Here's the metrology bay. And then you get into the photolithography bay number 1, photolithography bay number 2. But you know, if we had a little bit more time, I would love for participants to be able to actually scroll through and use this yourself. What I wanted to mention is that this is publicly available. So I've given you the link, and you can use this in your own classes. It's a distance-ready module, and all you'd need to do is kind of write the lab experience that you want to go out from that. It is branded for ASU. So another alternative is if someone is already working with their local nanofab center, then maybe we bring in cameras and we can, you know, walk them through this process of creating their own virtual clean room. It's very fancy, but it's not terribly expensive. It very much depends upon how many of those embedded icons you have in here. Some of them are very filled out, and this one is minimal. You know, we only have a few things in here. If I go back, there was one at the safety center. There's that one about clean room gowning. All right, so I'm going to pause again while I shut this down and ask, how do you think that you might be able to use an asset like this for distance education? Yeah, Abe, let me just maybe see if I can, use this in the nano workshops. Awesome. Abe, I think that I'm not sure I can put it into the chat, but it is on the sheet of resources that was disseminated in advance, and I think is also sent out after the fact to everyone who attends. So you'll get a list of all of the links that are in this presentation, including the virtual clean room and the split screen 3D one. What you'll find on the 3D split screen one is,
Rick, this is in your site or in the MNT-EC site?
It's at ASU.
Okay.
It's hosted at ASU.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we can put it up on the MNT-SIG site too. The Google Glasses version, we can click on it really quick, but this one doesn't have the embedded videos, and you really do need the 3D glasses to be able to see it properly. But the one thing I'll point out is, notice there's no gowning video embedded here. And then you also have these little rows, compass roses. And so if in the glasses, all you have to do is line your little cursor up with that compass rose, and you can move from one row to the next. All right, and I think at this point, I have one more that I'm gonna do, and then we're gonna pause for a brief poll. And I may actually need to change rooms here because I think there's a class getting ready to come in here. So this, the third kind of idea that I wanted to share with you here today is partnering with the assets that we already have. There's a large collection of assets at NanoLink, at NAC, at SCME, at Neotech that we've heard about in these seminars over the past few weeks. And so my big goal is never to reinvent the wheel. So one of the things we did for our micro class, it's MNT 120, it focuses on micro components, is we took the kits that Matt and his team had done, the excellent materials they had at SCME, and we assembled some of those materials into a box like this, a kit. These kits are then available for sale in lieu of a textbook. We mail them out to the students if necessary. They can also get them off of the shelf of the bookstore. And then they have the essential equipment that they may not have been able to get from home. So, you know, if they need acetone, we're going to assume that they can find that from their local pharmacy or, you know, drugstore. But, you know, if they needed a rainbow wafer, then we would put it into the kit because it's something that they wouldn't immediately have access to. So we took the SCMA kits, combined them together, and that becomes then their course resource and can be delivered at a distance. The other thing that you see on here is the poster that we've partnered also with SCME and their recent undergraduate research grant to send our students over there for a legitimate online experience. And so I'm going to pause for just a minute because, like I said, I need to move out into the hallway. Nancy, do you want to talk for a minute? Or Matt, maybe you could talk about the SCME workshops that we do?
Sure. Yeah, so SCME has been hosting clean room workshops for many years, bringing in instructors into the clean room at the University of New Mexico and making a pressure sensor. And recently we were awarded a supplemental grant on our sports center grant to bring undergraduate research folks in, specifically 2-year students. And so Rick and his buddies up at Rio Salado, and also Andy and Kate at Ivy Tech, and Danny and Pamela at Lone Star College are involved in that, but we have space for more. And my intent is to get the students to come with their instructor. So our main grant can give a stipend to the main instructor. And then the supplemental URE grant has money to give stipends to students to help pay for the travel costs. So our goal is to do some prep work in the spring online with some online courses and seminars and whatnot, and students can pick from a wide variety of topics to investigate when they come to our clean room in the summer. But of course, it all hinges on COVID. So, you know, we might have to delay it a year if things don't get better. But right now, you know, hopefully it's going to be good enough so that people can travel. Once they're in the clean room, it's real safe. So.
Thank you, Matt. And what you see here is actually a poster then that same Jeff Reed that we watched the video above before went out to this pressure sensor workshop, created a poster with actual shots describing the purpose, the process. We have at the very end our own NT-MDT AFM. So he then took this Wheatstone bridge pressure sensor that he had manufactured through this workshop, delivered at a distance, and then brought it back and put it into our AFM. And these were some of the images that you have. And you can, you know, he learned a lot from the process of looking at it from both on site and manufacturing it and bringing it back, seeing the roughness and saying, oh, it's not really as smooth as it looks to be from the naked eye, for example. So, you know, the story here, I think, in my view, is thinking creatively about how we can leverage partnerships. We don't all need to have these clean room fab facilities. We can access the NAC network for remote access to these pieces of equipment. We can send students for these lab experiences. So in those cases where there's this authentic hands-on piece that's really absolutely necessary, then we partner with our local industry, our local academic institutions, our AP support centers, in order to deliver these things from a distance. So that's the tie into the distance education piece. It's one of the ideas that we did. I think, Billy, I think it's time for our poll.
Sure. So we have a couple of questions that Rick and Nancy are wondering about. The first question, do you have any resources that you would like to share? And second of all, what resources would you like to learn more about? give everybody a chance to answer the questions and take a quick stretch break. All right. So.
Thank you very much. So Billy, do you capture these and maybe can send them to me later?
Yep. So we have about 53% saying that they do have resources that they would like to share. And it looks like there's a pretty good distribution on what people want to learn more about. And I will get the poll results out to you later today.
Awesome. Thank you very much. It looks like I'm running a little short on time, so let me just try to wrap up in these last few minutes. These are links to our curriculum materials. We borrowed with permission a lot of our initial curriculum from Penn State and the NAC Center. Thank you very much, Bob and that team, for all the excellent materials that are here. This direct link will take you to the nanoforme.org. Click on educator resources, and really you have my gratitude for starting me down this path of thinking about how we could use these materials and serving our students, these meeting the student where they're at philosophy that our college has. And for that, I'm very grateful. In the current curriculum, if you're interested in looking at it at Maricopa and in Rio Salado in particular, is the link to the Center for Curriculum Transfer and Articulation. This is see why it's not opening. So this is what our curriculum looks like. There's a field of interest icon up at the top, the title of the program, the SIP and SOC codes that it applies to, the description, the certificate of completion, which is the capstone experience at Penn State. For us is a certificate of completion. We have restricted electives, general education requirements, and program competencies. These are also publicly available. And if you go to CCTA Maricopa, you can search for any program and any course. So anyone who's interested in seeing not only the list of our courses, but also the content of those courses, at least from the competencies and outline description, can go to the Center for Curriculum Transfer and Articulation. The bottom one I'll share is just the future direction. We have applied for a first time to ATE grant. And as part of that grant, we're looking at furthering this intent of helping our students understand very specific career pathways. And I've heard a lot about this in these seminars over the weeks. We're also been working very closely with Greg Kepner, and he pointed me to a lot of the great resources that are available at LaserTech. And so we are developing some optics and photonics curriculum add on. We're also realigning some of our curriculum to with the ASTM standards that the NAC Center has been working on. So we're excited about these updates to our curriculum, make it real and relevant and specifically leading to what our employers' needs are in these areas. We think it's going to be a great addition. So LaserTech, thank you for your, they have great materials here. And this Introduction to Light and Lasers course that's in here is almost ready. All we have to do is put it into our learning management system. Everything is there. They have videos, they have activities, they have labs. And I think that there's some in-person pieces that we may want to hybridize to fit into our model, but that's the future. Future directions for us as a center. We're looking at customizing our curriculum and courses. I think we can do this nationally as well. That is, if we have a certain employer, it's like, okay, well, that's great, but I'm not really doing any optics or photonics. I wish that you had a little bit more of that. I'd like to see us have the ability to swap out certain parts of certain classes to tailor that experience for certain industry requests. We're very interested in having this co-enrollment or articulation agreements so that students that are at Ivy Tech, for example, who they don't have enough enrollment to make their class go, maybe they could co-enroll in a class at Rio Salado or with Nancy down in Normandale. And so in this way, the students are still on their path. They don't get sidetracked because of enrollment issues at one college. And I think if we collaborate and kind of practice what I've been talking about it with Matt for a long time, that is an opportunity for us as a center to utilize distance resources to support our enrollments at all of our programs. And then, the rest of this is the same kind of things that are in the goals of the program. We're just about out of time. So I'd like to just mention that these are some links that I just learned about recently, and I wanted to share them with the community. I think we're going to have some follow-ups on this as well. Jared and Billy might be able to tell you more about this, but this is about accessibility. This is about making sure that we have our captioning correct, that our pictures, because if we're doing something especially distance for a nano and we have a picture of a piece of equipment, we need to make sure that we have adequate text-based descriptions of those pictures. And we went through one of our classes, for example, at Rio Salado. We had literally thousands of pictures and none of them were tagged. So it's a pretty heavy lift. We have a lot of work to do in order to make that course accessible, not only because it's the law, but because it's the right thing to do. And so these are some excellent resources: Universal Design for Learning and the National Center on Accessible Educational Materials that we got from our CAST partners. And again, maybe Jared or Billy want to say a little bit more of that. So with 1 minute left to go, I'll skip the summary and just jump to please join us. Here's my contact information, Rick Vaughn, Nancy. You can type it into the chat. You can send me an email. You can pick up the phone and call me. Let me know if you would like to join us 2 weeks from Monday for our distance learning working group, where we're going to start to collect and meta tag these assets and make our operational plans for the coming year. I think that's about it. I won't replay the goodbye video. Thank you very much for having me today. It's been my pleasure to share with you a little bit about distance education.
All right, thanks, Nancy and Rick.